The birth of Egypt. In the heart of the world's largest desert lies a green ribbon of life, the Nile River. To modern eyes, the pyramids of Egypt stand as monuments to human ambition. But the true story of Egyptian civilization begins long before the pyramids and long before the pharaohs. 10,000 years ago, North Africa looked nothing like the desert we see today. The Sahara was once a vast savanna filled with lakes, rivers, grasslands, and enormous herds of animals. Early human communities lived as hunters and gatherers, roaming freely across a green and fertile land. But the earth slowly changed. The climate shifted, rainfall patterns collapsed, and the once fertile Sahara began turning into desert. Lakes dried up, grasslands disappeared. Slowly, an ocean of sand swallowed the landscape. Driven by drought and survival, human communities migrated toward the only reliable source of water left in the region, the Nile. This narrow river valley became their refuge. What had once been a free, open landscape had now become a narrow ecological cage. But inside that cage, humanity would build one of the greatest civilizations in history, Upper and Lower Egypt. By around 3,300 BCE, settlements along the Nile began organizing into small regional powers. The geography of Egypt divided the land into two very different worlds. In the south lay Upper Egypt, a narrow valley surrounded by cliffs and desert. In the north stretched Lower Egypt, the vast Nile Delta, a swampy network of rivers and fertile farmland that opened toward the Mediterranean Sea. While the northern delta remained largely rural, the south began producing powerful city-states such as Thinis, Nakada, and Hierakonpolis. These cities grew wealthy through trade with distant civilizations, including Mesopotamia. Competition between these centers gradually led to alliances, conflicts, and eventually political consolidation. From these struggles emerged a powerful southern coalition known as the Thinnite Confederacy. This coalition would soon reshape the entire Nile Valley. The first pharaoh, Narmer, around 3,100 BCE, a king named Narmer rose to power. Narmer was more than a local ruler. He was the leader who transformed a collection of rival tribes into the world's first centralized state. His conquest of the northern delta unified Upper and Lower Egypt into a single kingdom.
My people, the river gives us life. Let us honor it. Together we build our
history. The Narmer palette. On the stone carving, Narmer is shown wearing the white crown of Upper Egypt on one side and the red crown of Lower Egypt on the other. The message was clear. The two lands had become one. To control this new kingdom, Narmer established a capital at a strategic location where the Nile Valley met the delta. This city was called Memphis. From here, the pharaoh could control trade, agriculture, and the movement of people across the entire country. Egypt had become the world's first nation-state, the power of the pharaoh. But ruling such a large population required more than military power. Egyptian kings developed a powerful ideological system known as Ma'at. Ma'at represented cosmic order, truth, balance, and justice. According to this belief, the pharaoh was not just a political leader, he was the divine link between humans and the gods. Without the pharaoh, Egyptians believed the universe itself would fall into chaos. The sun might stop rising. The Nile might stop flooding. By maintaining Ma'at, the pharaoh preserved the balance of the world. This belief system allowed the state to organize labor, collect taxes, and coordinate massive national projects. One of the most important institutions to emerge during this time was the class of scribes. These educated administrators recorded taxes, managed grain storage, and controlled the bureaucracy of the kingdom. With food supplies centralized in royal granaries, Egypt developed one of the earliest economic systems in history. And with this stability came the ambition to build monuments that would last forever. The age of the pyramids. Around 2,600 BCE,
Your actions defy the gods in this sacred land. I defy only false traditions that bind us.
This era witnessed the construction of some of the most extraordinary architectural achievements ever attempted. Under Pharaoh Djoser, a brilliant architect named Imhotep designed the first monumental stone structure in history, the Step Pyramid of Saqqara. By stacking layers of stone mastabas, Imhotep created a towering structure that symbolized the pharaoh's ascent to the heavens. This innovation eventually led to the construction of the most famous monument of all, the Great Pyramid of Giza. For centuries, people believed the pyramids were built by slaves. But archaeological discoveries tell a different story. Workers were organized into skilled teams, fed by the state, and coordinated through a complex logistical system. Egypt had become a powerful administrative machine capable of mobilizing tens of thousands of laborers. The pyramids were not just tombs. They were symbols of eternal order, collapse, and chaos. But no system lasts forever. Over time, power began drifting away from the central government. Local governors, known as nomarchs, gained wealth and influence, weakening royal authority. At the same time, temples accumulated vast tax exemptions, draining the state treasury. Then disaster struck. Around 2200 BCE, a massive climate crisis known as the 4.2 kiloyear event disrupted rainfall across Africa. The Nile floods failed. Without water, crops died. Famine spread across the valley. The centralized kingdom collapsed. Egypt descended into a chaotic period of civil war known as the First Intermediate Period. The Middle Kingdom, after nearly a century of conflict, a southern ruler named Mentuhotep II reunited Egypt. This marked the beginning of the Middle Kingdom. The monarchy evolved during this era. Instead of presenting themselves as distant gods, pharaohs now portrayed themselves as shepherds of the people. Their legitimacy came from protecting and caring for their citizens. Egypt also expanded its borders, building fortified outposts deep into Nubia to secure gold resources. Large irrigation projects were developed to guard against future famines. But prosperity brought new challenges. Foreign migrants, known as the Hyksos, gradually settled in the Nile Delta, and they brought with them revolutionary military technology, the Hyksos invasion. Around 1650 BCE, the Hyksos seized control of northern Egypt. They introduced weapons that the Egyptians had never seen before: horse-drawn chariots and composite bows. Egyptian armies were defeated. For the first time in history, Egypt was ruled by foreign kings. But the story did not end there. In the south, native rulers from the city of Thebes began preparing for war. The rise of the Egyptian Empire. A Theban king named Ahmose I finally expelled the Hyksos from Egypt, but the experience changed the Egyptian mindset forever. The desert was no longer enough to protect the kingdom. Egypt needed an empire. This marked the beginning of the new kingdom, the age of imperial Egypt. Pharaohs launched military campaigns into Syria and Nubia, creating a vast network of controlled territories. Under rulers like Thutmose III, Egypt became the most powerful state in the Mediterranean world, the age of great pharaohs. This era produced some of Egypt's most famous rulers. Queen Hatshepsut focused on trade and economic expansion. Pharaoh Ramesses II fought the massive Battle of Kadesh against the Hittite Empire, the largest chariot battle in history. The war ended with the world's first recorded peace treaty. Egypt appeared unstoppable, but beneath the surface, cracks were forming. The Bronze Age collapse. Around 1200 BCE, a wave of drought, migration, and warfare destroyed nearly every major civilization in the eastern Mediterranean. This catastrophe is known as the Bronze Age collapse. Egypt survived, but barely. A mysterious coalition called the Sea Peoples launched massive invasions. Pharaoh Ramesses III defeated them in a desperate naval battle in the Nile Delta, but the war drained Egypt's economy and shattered international trade networks. The empire began slowly declining. The end of the Pharaohs. Over the following centuries, Egypt faced repeated invasions. The Assyrians conquered the country. Then the Persians took control. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great arrived and was welcomed as a liberator. After his death, his general Ptolemy founded a Greek dynasty that ruled Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. The final ruler of this line was Cleopatra VII. She attempted to preserve Egypt's independence through alliances with Rome. But after her defeat in 30 BCE, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. The age of the pharaohs had come to an end. Legacy. For over 3,000 years, the Nile shaped one of the most remarkable civilizations in human history. From climate refugees in the desert, to pyramid builders, to imperial conquerors, ancient Egypt left behind a legacy that continues to fascinate the world. And though the pharaohs are long gone, their monuments still rise above the sands of time.